when I look back over the last couple of years, they have been easily the most challenging 3 years of my entire existence.
Yeah.
Um, but, the vision is for you,
Yeah.
right? And then after you receive the vision, then it's on you to convey the messaging as needed for your people, for your audience,
Absolutely.
um, in order for you to be able to move from vision to actual like execution to
Yeah.
reality and things like that. But again, like you said, we are equipped, and I think that being in darkness, right, challenging times, or
Yeah.
the valley or whatever, we forget. And that's when we start questioning ourselves. That's when our confidence wanes. And that's when we're like, did God really say?
Ooh, child.
Right?
Yes.
And our job is to remember that while we aren't going to be, perfect in performance all the time, we will be perfect in position. And our
Ooh,
job is to just make sure that we're in position
yes.
so that when the darkness lifts, at least we can see a little bit of light and remember what we were told. Our
Yes.
job is to also not, our job is to not forget,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
did hear right. He did say do X.
Hey, ladies. Welcome to another episode of the Front Burner Podcast, where we help mamas take their dreams, passions, and side hustles off the back burner, put them on the front burner, make money, and manage their households. I'm Nikki Willis, a Christ follower, wife, mom of 3, and an entrepreneur who started with nothing but my kids' toys and turned it into a 6-figure business. I'm a self-proclaimed anti-supermom, and each week I'll challenge you with my stories, tips, hacks, and a little bit of humor to make sure you put yourself on the front burner. Why? Because the world needs what you've got cooking. So, honey, this is officially part of your me time regimen. Relax, listen up, and let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Nikki Willis here, and we have another episode of the Front Burner Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, y'all, I've got another guest with me. Listen,
Ooh.
this is just getting out of control. Okay, I am beyond excited to have Dorothy Enriquez here with me. Dorothy, say hey to the girls. Say hey to
Hey,
the girls.
girl. I'm
Welcome
here
to the
for all the
tribe, girl.
magic. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So, listen, today we're going to talk about Dorothy's story. We're going to talk about leadership as mompreneurs. And this is going to be a great conversation. Before we get started, I want to let you know if you haven't joined the Front Burner Tribe Facebook group, you have to do that. Head on over to Facebook. Go ahead and search Front Burner Tribe. We are right in there. It's a private group. A lot of our conversations from the podcast go over to the group, and we have a great time over there. So make sure you do that. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. All right. We are streaming wherever podcasts are being streamed. So make sure you head over there, hit subscribe, hit like, make sure you're sharing, make sure you are reviewing and giving us those 5 stars. All right. Also, ladies, I've got merch. You have been seeing my t-shirt, but now you will also see this beautiful mug, and it is
Hey,
hashtag
now.
anti-supermom. Y'all already know we are anti-supermoms out here. We are trying to be great moms, not super moms. All right. Super moms are always doing too much. They're not thinking of themselves.
Mhm.
And they are half the time on E. All right. We're trying to be anti-super moms. We're trying to be great moms. We are prioritizing our households, our families, our spouses, but we're also prioritizing ourselves and our dreams and what we believe that God's given us to do and to put out there in this world. So if you like this mug, make sure you head over to nikkywillis.com, click on merch, and go ahead and purchase this mug. All right, let's get Dorothy?
Yes, let's. Why
Yeah,
don't
I have a bio because I want to read all these receipts, honey. We are all about celebrating our fellow mompreneurs, our fellow tribe members. So let's get into it. Dorothy Enriquez is the communication strategist. For almost 2 decades, she's been helping ordinary people become remarkable leaders. She aligns communication and leadership development to the company's bottom line, one activity at a time. Through facilitation, public speaking, and coaching, the communication strategist is in the business of closing the leadership gap that has been reported by 77% of organizations across the US. The communication strategist, aka we'll call it TCS from now on, yeah, is
Yep.
a learning and leadership development firm with a niche in team building, professional growth, personal development, serving clients like the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Milwaukee, the City of Milwaukee, the African American Chamber, and the Milwaukee Urban League of Young Professionals. Dorothy supports you through your leadership transition to help you show up authentically and master connection based leadership to increase results in your business and cultivate powerful relationships in your personal life. Yes, girl. Yes. In
Yep,
her
we
spare
do.
in her spare time, she enjoys recording her podcast, The Business Besties. Shout out to that podcast, as well
Yeah.
as traveling, dancing, practicing French. Oh, yes, oui. Reading
Right.
and gal pal bonding. Girl, I love it. Ladies, let's give it up for Dorothy Enriquez. Yay! Oh my goodness. Girl, one day I'm going to have an audience
Yes.
some point.
And
But
then
for
we're
now,
hand.
I am your audience and I am clapping you up. I am giving you your props, girl. You are amazing. I want to shout out your podcast, The Business Besties, which you said drops every Monday morning at 4 a.m., right?
Yep, around 4 a.m. Central Time, because we are your Monday morning coffee, and we've got all things entrepreneur, all things business
Yeah.
on Mondays. So season 1 and season 2 is available everywhere where you tune into podcasts, and we're getting
Awesome.
ready to jump into season 3. We're not
Season
letting
3.
Rona get us down.
Girl, listen, no, absolutely not. All right. So, ladies, make sure you go and check out her podcast, which is, again, The Business Besties. Make sure you look up that podcast as well. All right, girl, let's get into it. I'm super excited that you are here.
Yeah.
And girl, let's just get into it.
All right.
I've read your bio, but I want to hear from you, and I know the ladies want to hear from you. What is your business? What do you do?
So, TCS is a learning and leadership development firm. It really is designed to close the leadership gap. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's been identified across 77% of organizations in the US at every single level,
Mm.
right? So, from emerging leader all the way up to the C suite. And people are sometimes
Yeah.
like, dang, even the C suite?
Yeah.
Yes, even the C suite. And the why behind that is because a lot of times we aren't reading leadership books, we're not taking
Mm.
leadership classes, and we're not majoring in leadership if we go to college.
So
And
true.
so essentially what happens is we are a high achiever and in some instances a high performer. When an
Mm.
organization sees that, they say, oh my God, Nikki, you are killing it.
Yeah.
Let's put you in management, girl. You've got something. And
Mm.
while you're at it, please clone yourself. So, what does Nikki do? Nikki doesn't want to let go of the things that she really loves to do and the things that she's good at. She
Mm-hmm.
hires more people that remind Nikki of Nikki.
Yeah.
And then she's got to have a little bit of diversity. So she's got a couple people that they don't remind her of her. And then she's trying to do her work and manage this group of individuals who are her peers. Because
Yeah.
5 seconds ago, we were all on the same level. And
Yes.
now there's power distance. And so
Mm-hmm.
Nikki is basically experimenting on us. And
Wow.
so what happens is, Nikki is doing the best that she can,
Yeah.
but on some level, Nikki doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it gets to be this snowball effect because Nikki's new to management. So
Yes.
why would I invest in her? I need to be
Exactly.
investing in my directors. I need to be
All
investing
the
in
upper management. Yeah.
yes. And so
Wow.
she's new, she'll figure it out. But here's what's special about Nikki.
Mm.
She's so like she's intelligent, she
Mhm.
brings value, she's smart, she's innovative and results driven. So
Yeah.
even though she might not be the best manager, we're
Yeah.
going to move her up in the ranks anyway. Now Nikki's a director.
Yeah.
She still may not have learned all of the skills that she needed to be powerful in that space. But
Exactly.
because she's good at doing her work and not necessarily good at developing, retaining, and hiring the best people to support her in the work that she's tasked with doing,
Hmm.
leadership starts to crumple a bit, even though the
Absolutely.
organization itself is advancing. TCS is designed to close that gap.
Wow. Okay. You you said it perfectly. And I totally saw that. And I totally saw I felt when as you were describing it, I felt frustration as you were describing me in that management position where I've never been trained. Like you said, never read a book on it, never went to college on it. And here I am forced to, manage these people to develop them.
Right.
Where I've essentially just found people that thought maybe acted like me or whatever, but I
Yep.
don't know how to develop them. I don't know how
That
to leverage
part.
their strengths. I don't know how to help them with their weaknesses, any of that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
and it's not just the manager who's frustrated, right? Because in
right.
that little, this is not a real story about Nikki, but in
Right.
that little pretend story, right?
Yeah.
You're frustrated as the leader, as the
Yes.
manager, right? Because ultimately your job is to manage performance. But
Yeah.
because some of these people remind you of you, you're also becoming their friend in the process,
Very
which makes it
true.
even more difficult
That's
to manage.
very difficult.
And not only are you frustrated,
Mm.
they are frustrated. And something that I like to share with leaders whenever we're in a coaching session or whenever I'm facilitating
Hmm.
or doing a speaking engagement, I always ask them, what are your people saying about you? Because when they go home, they talk about stuff at the dinner table, and most
Hmm.
likely they talk about what just happened, which is
That's
work.
true.
Work is what just happened.
Yeah.
What are they saying about you? Because they are talking about you. This is where they spend a ton of their time. What
Yeah.
are they saying? And what do you want them to be saying? How
Wow.
can you as the leader close that gap?
Hmm. Oh my goodness, I can imagine that's a very vulnerable time of reflection when you're saying,
Yeah.
"Oh my goodness, that's true." Like everything that all that
Right.
interaction that we've had for 8+ hours a day.
Yep.
Am I being a good leader?
Yep. And you
And so many
as a
people,
leader,
yeah,
you have a leader and you talk about your boss.
yeah,
So what would make you think that they're not talking about you? It's just a
absolutely,
matter of how can we show up in an authentic way, in a
yeah,
way that we can really connect with our people,
hmm,
um, up, down, and across, so that yes, we may have days where they are like saying things that just aren't the best at the dinner
hmm,
table, but
yeah,
more often than not, this is a leader that inspires you, right, to
yeah,
learn more, to do more, to really engage, to find your voice, to show up authentically. That
yeah,
leader, when they make a mistake and you talk about them at dinner, it doesn't last that long because you're more forgiving, because
very
they've
true.
taken the time to connect.
Connect authentically.
That part. We
Yes,
recognize when stuff isn't authentic. We can see that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think people take that for granted, that it's like, people's fake meter, their fake antenna is up. They
It
can
is.
they
Oh,
can see
yeah.
you're not being authentic. Um, even outside of the workforce, like there people are telling you, they want to see authentic things, even if you're on social media, like
Yep.
some
Yep.
people are done with the, perfectly posed photos. They're done with the, you know, here is my husband and my dog and my three children and our white picket fence. No, like, is your kitchen clean? Like, just go ahead and like, that's why people love stories, because they feel like they can connect with you. Are your kids jumping on your couch after the 10th time you done told them not to? Girl, me too. Now we connect. Now I feel like
Yes.
I can hear you or I can listen to you. And so it's amazing how you can see that across the board, not just socially, but in business as well.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so how did you discover this business that you wanted to start?
You know, I feel like this business has been like probably like 20 plus years in the making
Wow.
because I remember being in college.
Hmm.
I was like involved in everything, right? So I was like the
Okay.
president of the French club. I remember starting like an African aesthetic dance troupe. I was doing all of these things to the point where the school had this leadership development program, but it
Mhm.
was only for the top 10% of leaders in the school.
Okay.
So for the most part, I want to say you don't even know that the program exists until you get tapped.
Okay.
And I got tapped
Very
as one
elite.
of the top 10. Right, look,
Yeah.
I was like, this is a thing. And
Yeah.
so
That's like huge.
they literally take, so I feel like college seemed like forever ago. Classes happen in like semesters. Like
Yes.
you take a semester of journalism or a
Yes.
semester of English. This
Mhm.
class was a 1 year class, like
Oh my.
flowed all the way through, and you
Wow.
take an entire year at 7 a.m.
Oh,
every
child.
week to study leadership. And
Okay.
you study leadership in depth. So that was like my
Mhm.
first time really like diving in and sinking my teeth in. Now, you know, now that I think about it, had there been a major in leadership, I probably would have majored in it, but it
You
didn't
would
exist
have.
at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't exist at the time, but that was like my first foray with leadership. And
Okay.
that was the lens through which I looked at many things that I would do in my career going forward.
Mhm.
But this company, TCS, didn't come, all the pieces didn't really come together for me until after I was on like my third business venture,
Okay.
and then going through a leadership program where I was like, aha, eureka,
Yeah.
why don't I look, why
Yeah.
don't I think about what I've been doing in my actual career for the last, almost 20 years, and then let's see how we could parlay that into some serious coins
Hmm.
based on just all the feedback I've been getting over the years.
Yes.
So TCS was born in October, like the fall winter of 2016.
Wow. Okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah.
Um, I love, and I want to point this out, ladies. Did you hear how she was like, okay, this started like 20 years ago, where these instances were happening. You were in this year-long leadership course. You were clearly starting, organizations and being a leader of all these organizations.
Yep.
And you essentially took all your experiences, things that you have had experience in or your expertise in, and you were saying, how can I make this work?
Yes.
How can I,
That's
how,
exactly
like you said, how can I get these coins
that
off of
part.
all of these years of of leadership that I've had? And
Yes.
so, because I say like all the time, it's like, some people are like, well, where do I start? What kind of business should I start? Start with what have been your experiences?
Absolutely.
What have you experienced? What have you shared with others? What have you gotten feedback on? You were getting receipts the whole time. All you have
Yes.
to do is bring them together.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. And that's like 10,000% right, right? Because
Yeah.
the last 5 years of my career in corporate, so I'm like
Mhm.
a recovering corporate citizen.
Uh,
So my last 5 years in corporate, I cannot tell you how many times people came up to me like, you've got something. Like
mhm.
you should do this yourself.
Yep.
You should make a business. You should be able to like style your workshops with like the Dorothy flair, and
Come on.
you should be able to like show up and like not have to really hold back. And I remember
Yeah.
my first like paying client was Rockwell Automation, and when she brought me in to do like help your mojo kick ASS.
Mm,
um,
that's cute.
she was like, I want you to be Dorothy like on 1,000. bring Dorothy in HD and
Mm-hmm.
show up as you, because that's what I want for this workshop. That's what we need here.
Yeah.
And I
Not
just,
hiding behind some organization. They wanted you. And that's when
yes,
you knew it was like, okay, yes, I got something.
right, right. And
Yeah.
at that time I was still working. So I
Okay.
was like, this is like a sign, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like what you were saying, like looking at what are you doing? Like what's the feedback that you're getting from people?
Yes.
What are you doing that's making you feel like sparkly and alive
Yes.
and
Making your
alive?
baby leap. I call it you like something that makes your baby leap inside. Like,
Yeah,
ooh, I like this. I'm like,
exactly.
what else, what other experiences do I have? What other receipts do I have? If you've been doing cakes and just doing cakes on the side, but people are like, oh my gosh, these are the best cakes ever. If
Yep.
you are designing, if you are, whatever it may be, if you've been a lawyer for a while, but honey, you've been taking cases or different projects that spark something in you and it's bringing results. Take hold of that thing, right?
There it is.
Take
Absolutely.
hold of that thing. Grab those receipts, start documenting. Girl, you probably got something.
Right.
Dorothy did. Okay.
Right. Right.
So TCS, you started in in October
Yep.
2016. So how have things been since that process, since you started?
Wow. So it was like a journey. So in October of 2016, I was like, man, I think I'm gonna start a business. So I was
Okay.
talking to my executive coach,
Mhm,
probably around like maybe October, November, December-ish.
mhm.
And I was like, yo. So at the time I was married, right? So I told
Okay.
my coach, I was like, man, I got this business and I think I want to do all of the things, right? And
Okay.
she was like, that's not smart. Your business needs to be focused so that people can latch on and understand what you're about. When you have a business, especially a new business, and it has all of the things,
Hmm.
it's very confusing for your audience.
Mhm.
So, like, you can't do everything. You
Yes.
start with one thing,
Focus
get
in.
really,
Yes.
yep, niche down,
It's in.
start with a thing, make sure people get it, and then you can expand from there once
Absolutely.
people understand. And I was
Absolutely.
like, bet, I want to start this business. I want to have a baby, and I want to have I want to quit my job. And
Mhm.
she was like, huh. She said, well, so she's like, how old are
All of
you?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
how long
Now,
you been?
now here come the questions. Yes.
Absolutely. So we like kind of do an assessment and she's like, this is doable.
Mhm.
It's going to be challenging,
Yeah.
but you can do challenging things. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay.
Hey, coach.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
so I make plans, talk it over with my husband, tell him how much money I want to have saved,
Mhm.
kind of make a timeline for the baby, even though your body's going to do what it wants to.
Absolutely.
And baby's going to come when they feel like it.
Honey.
And, make a plan for when I'm going to quit my job. So I was like,
Yeah.
look, I want to quit my job. Um, what did I say? I said by the time when I was 23, I was like, I want to not be working for someone else by the time I'm 35. So
Okay.
I did do that.
Okay.
Um, so I'm like, all right, let's make these plans. He's totally
Mhm.
on board. Everything's great. And then what, like July of 2017,
Mm.
July of 2017, as I'm like working towards, having a baby, quitting my
Yeah.
job, launching a
Yeah.
business,
The
like
whole
I
thing.
kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, like I kind of noticed that my marriage is starting to do something a little wonky. And I'm like,
Wow.
huh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. We love each other.
Yeah.
And then I find out I'm pregnant. So I'm like, oh,
So
neat.
then on top of that,
Look, he was doing something a little weird, but I'm
yeah,
like, we'll be all right.
yeah.
So then I find
Now
out
you're
I'm pregnant.
pregnant.
I'm like, you know what? Babies are a blessing. Yes, let's just
Oh
do
yeah,
this.
and this is gonna bring us closer together.
Child,
And I'm
babies
doing
put
quotes if you're
together for like
listening.
a second. And then
Mm,
after that, reality sets in. So
indeed.
I'm like pregnant and the marriage is continuing to like fall apart.
Yeah.
And I'm also realizing that work, I don't know if it was me or work was actually like getting crazy, but
Mm,
I was like, wow, I got to quit my job. And then I wasn't planning for the, like I was planning, but I wasn't planning for this because then now it looks like I'm not going to stay married. So this just
wow.
doesn't seem like a good idea anymore. I have to shift my plans, which means I
Yes.
need to stay working. And perhaps I will quit my job when my daughter turns 5.
Okay.
That seems more practical.
All
That
right. So you
seems,
made adjustments.
yep, that feels more responsible. And parents put
Okay.
their dreams off all the time. And that's what moms do. You know, we want to be super
Make
moms and make all these sacrifices.
yes.
Oh, and put ourselves last. But
Yeah.
it's like, wait, put your mask on first and then help others. But okay. So I'm like taking this step back and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with myself
Yeah.
because there's just so many things happening at once.
Yes.
And I call one of my mentors. I think I was like probably on the brink of tears because I was like, I really think I need to quit my job, but it just feels like that's irresponsible.
Not the right thing.
And so at this, I have a couple mentors, but this one happened to be a dude. And he was like, why don't you want to quit your job? And I was like, well, because
Wow. Because it
I'm
wasn't the quote unquote responsible thing to do.
right. Like he was like, I don't understand why you don't want to quit. That place is not for you. It
Yeah.
stresses you out. You can't show up as your best self. I
Mm.
don't understand why you don't want to quit. This is the perfect time to quit. And I'm like, looking at this giant
Yeah.
stomach, like,
Your belly.
and I'm like, and he's like, you don't have any kids. And I was like,
Yeah.
sir.
So
And he was like, for real, you don't have any children. You will have a child. You do not have one now.
mm,
If you have this child and then quit, you will probably not quit. You will wait until your daughter is 5. And
wow.
then when she turns 5, you'll be processing that she needs to be in a great, program for elementary.
And then you're
So
gonna put it
then
on
you're
the
going to put
back
her off.
burner again.
Yep. And it's not going to be on the front burner.
And it won't be on the front burner. Come
You're
on.
going to be waiting until she's in college and you've
Yeah.
literally put your dreams off for almost 2 decades.
Lord have
You
mercy.
don't have any kids, quit your job now. And when I tell you, like when we're in alignment
Yes.
and when we're like terrified but aligned,
Yes.
that's when you know that that is exactly what you're supposed to do. I was scared like
You better come on.
out of my stilettos. Look, stilettos just like jumped off my feet like,
Yes. Yes.
I knew that's what I needed to do. I knew
Right.
that that's what I needed to do. And so I did it. I quit my job
Hmm. So
and
before you had your baby, that's like right before you had your baby, you quit
right
your
before I
job.
had my baby, I quit my job like, yo, I want to make sure I'm in a Zen space when I bring this child into the world.
Yeah.
I can't do this. Deuces, more power to y'all. Love y'all. It'll be great.
Yes.
And then in the midst of this, right, my marriage continued to just basically like disintegrate. Look, have you ever seen Marvel's Endgame? How all the
Yes,
people
when they were
disintegrate?
like disintegrating. That was
That
your
was my
marriage.
marriage.
Oh,
Yep.
sis. I can't.
So look,
Oh,
it's
sis.
disintegrating. So I'm like, I
Oh,
have this baby.
okay.
And what my daughter must have been, let's see, May, she must have been like 10 weeks old. And I was like, so
Yeah.
look, we tried,
Yeah.
but this ain't working. We're getting divorced.
Wow.
And then, so my husband moves out.
Yeah.
And I was like, you can't come home. You can go anywhere but here.
Yeah.
So he moves out and I have this baby and I'm like, oh my God, this is just a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I had been speaking to my parents a lot because I had been flying back and forth to California. It was such an incredibly stressful time
Yes.
that I just was like having like an almost out of body experience. And my dad was like, look, I get that you were married. You never wanted to be divorced. You only wanted to get married once. You waited. You waited to do everything in order. So you feel like you have to just do this and you feel like you don't have any choices. Daughter, you have choices. You always have a choice. You can always make a different decision.
That is a word right there. Let's just stop right there, y'all. Did you hear what she said? You always have a choice.
Yeah.
That's a word. Shout out to your dad.
Honey, he set me free because I literally was feeling trapped in my own life. And I was like, you know what? You're never trapped. You always have a choice. You can always make a different decision and change the trajectory of everything. And sometimes we're so afraid that we will be unhappy on the other side,
Mhm.
and we don't have a good gauge of what that unhappiness level looks like, and we
Wow.
are almost never that unhappy based on a decision that we make from an aligned place,
That's right.
right? And so
Exactly. But
I
so
decide,
many women just remain on the back burner
yep,
because we're just so afraid of what we can't see. And that's the faith walk right
absolutely,
there. So you
absolutely.
were taking this faith walk. So let's recap. You had quit your job right before you had your baby. You had your baby. 10 weeks later, you say, okay, this marriage is not working anymore. You file for divorce and you have this business.
Yes. So I hadn't launched the business yet. So
Okay.
July, early July, like maybe July 11th, I'm like, yep, paperwork served. We're not
Yeah.
doing it no more, right? So then so my daughter's like 10 weeks old ish.
Hmm.
Um, oh, I'm bad at math. Well, 10 weeks when I'm like, this isn't working. Then
Yes.
in July, so she would
And
have
you
been 10
file.
in July. Yep. So in July, I file. So now she's
Okay.
about 3 months. And
Yeah.
then in August, when she's 4 months old, I start the business.
Wow.
But I'm alone by
Hmm.
myself, bouncing a baby on my lap,
Indeed.
launching a business. Because, I'm launching and I couldn't afford childcare. So I
Right.
was like, let's just launch with the baby on the nip,
Maybe.
you know, and let's do this.
Yeah.
And I had, a couple paying clients.
Hmm.
And so I was like, look, God, you told me this is the land of and, okay? So it
Yes.
doesn't have to be like get a divorce or just stay in a bad marriage so that you have two parents.
Mm.
Like stay at your job or start the business but stay married. Like why do we have to live in this like or it can
Yes.
be and we are more
That's so good.
powerful, right, than we give ourselves credit for,
You're
and we are
so
more
good.
resilient than we think we are,
Come on.
right?
Come
Because I
on.
just listen, I was talking to my therapist and I was like, I just knew that this would break me in like a gajillion pieces and I'd never be able to put my pieces back together. And she
Mm.
was like, I never thought that.
Wow.
I know you. I've never thought that this would break you in a million pieces.
And
Did
look
it
now.
well, yes, but I didn't think it would break you.
Yeah.
You're equipped to handle this,
Exactly. Exactly. And God gives us everything that we need. He
child.
equips us with everything we need. Now, it might stretch us, it might
Right.
bend us, honey,
I'm
to
like
capacity,
Gumby
but
in
it
these
won't break.
streets. Listen, I'm like the mom on The Incredibles. What is she like, Stretch Mom or
Yes,
something?
yes. And she stretches, honey.
Elastigirl.
Yeah, Elastigirl, honey. That's so funny. That's so
Look, so that
we
that
might
was
not, we
me,
might be anti-super moms, but we showing up Alaska women, honey. Alaska
honey.
girls.
That was and is still me. And
Yeah.
I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm afraid, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right? Because the
That's
courage
good.
doesn't come until you do the thing. So
Like you walk even when you're afraid. You move even when you're afraid.
absolutely,
You
10,000%
move
agree.
even if you don't think you have everything, even if you don't feel like you're enough, you move, you keep
Yes,
going. That's
yes,
your faith walk. That
absolutely.
is your faith walk. And I love how you said it's like the land of or. I think like a lot of us live out of that place.
Oh my God,
You
yes,
can't do basically saying you can't do both.
yes,
And you
absolutely.
can, like it can
Yes, you
be a yes
can. You
and.
can.
That's what I want to get to. It can be a yes and. It
Yeah,
could be a yes, I can be a single mom and I can run this business. Um, and I can live wherever I want to live.
that part.
And I can, it can be yes and. It can
Yes,
be yes and. I've been told, well, you can only run one business at a time. No, that's an either or thing. Yes, you can run this business and you can run this business and you can run this. Why can't you run multiple businesses? Why
right,
can't why can't you be a single mom and travel?
right,
Like,
right.
I was told a lot. I had my daughter at 19. So, I went from, being a kid essentially to straight up being a mom. Um, and so throughout my whole 20s where people were traveling and things like that, I was told like, well, you can't travel. You're a
You're
mom.
a mom.
Yeah, you're a mom. You can't travel. And, there was a big opportunity for me to go into a program like yours. And I was told, you can't do that. You're a mom and you have to move to Massachusetts and there's no daycare there. And then, and out of fear, I listened to that. But
Don't you just like hate it?
yeah, lessons
And
learned,
then
honey.
you're
Lessons
like,
learned.
I'm never doing that again.
You better
So
believe
here's the thing though, people do. And this is why, essentially, right, we're all leaders because
Yeah.
leadership is simply influence. And so sometimes people use their influence for like not the good. And I think what happens is people will impart their fears on you. I,
Go on.
Susan, Susan would never move with my baby. I,
Yeah,
Susan,
I wouldn't. Yeah.
never, do XYZ. Like I would do ABC. So I can't
Mhm.
believe you, Nikki, would
Yes, would
do
do
something that
that.
I wouldn't
You
do.
can't
Because,
do that. There's
right. Like,
no
how could
way.
you? How
Mhm.
could you? And so, I think that what's interesting is that when we see that people are doing that,
Mhm.
and sometimes we do it to ourselves, of course,
Yeah.
too, but we can't allow people, once we recognize what's happening, people really, sometimes they're hating, but more often than not, I think that they're trying to protect us.
Yeah, they have, like,
They're afraid.
they have our best interests at heart. Most people do, but
Yeah,
they're projecting that fear on us.
absolutely.
And those that do have your best interest at heart, you take the meat and you spit out the bones. But you have to know at the end of the day what God gave you. You have
Yes,
to know what
because he
He
gave it
equipped
to
you with.
you
That's right.
and
He
not
gave it to
everybody else. So it's not for
you.
them. It's for
Yes,
you.
it's for you. It's
Yes,
for you. Ladies, if you don't hear anything else out of this podcast, you have to understand what God gave you is for you.
absolutely.
What family tells you, what your bestie tells you, and they have your best interest at heart. You have to understand, take the meat, spit out the bones, but you better give it to God, because if He gave it to you, He wants you to walk it out.
Yes,
And remember,
absolutely.
like, and it's going to stretch you. It's going to bend you. Like, this is
Right.
not, being a mompreneur, I know you can attest. It's a hard thing. That's why I say
Girl, because these babies.
yeah, this is a long game here.
Right.
Like, this is not a short game. We're not playing checkers, we're playing chess. This is
Yes.
a long game. So
Yes.
there are times where you have to sacrifice.
Mhm.
There are times where you have to, I talked about mom guilt early on, and I talked about mompreneur guilt. When you're talking about building a business that you have created, that is now, you have to sacrifice certain things and spending time with your children so that you can attend to your business that you created. Talk about mompreneur guilt. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, this is something that God gave you. You have to walk it out.
Yes.
And He has equipped you and He has given you the grace to do it.
That part. That part. When I look back over the last couple of years, they have been easily the most challenging 3 years of my entire existence.
Yeah,
Um, but the vision is for you,
yeah,
right? And then after you receive the vision, then it's on you to convey the messaging as needed for your people, for your audience,
absolutely.
um, in order for you to be able to move from vision to actual like execution to
Yeah,
reality and things like that. But again, like you said, we are equipped, and I think that being in darkness, right, challenging times, or
yeah,
the valley or whatever, we forget, and that's when we start questioning ourselves. That's when our confidence wanes, and that's when we're like, "Did God really say?"
Ooh, child.
Right?
Yes.
And our job is to remember that while we aren't going to be, perfect in performance all the time, we will be perfect in position. And our
Ooh,
job is to just make sure that we're in position
yes,
so that when the darkness lifts, at least we can see a little bit of light and remember what we were told. Our
yes,
job is to also our job is to not forget,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
did hear right. he did say do X.
Mhm.
He did say take X job. I'm willing to bet on me. I can count on me.
Yes.
I'm my biggest fan. I'm my biggest supporter. And
Yes.
based on my life experiences up to this point, I
Yes.
can pull on these other experiences to help me navigate and get through with grace,
Mhm.
right? This
Yeah.
thing that I'm going through right now, so that I don't look like what I've been through. Because
Come
ultimately,
on.
these tests are not for us. Like, one thing that helped me over the last couple of years, like, this story isn't for me. If it
Mm.
was just for me, like, you could keep this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I
You
don't
can
need
skip
this.
half of this.
Listen, but
Like,
it's not for me. It's
yeah.
for other people, because
Absolutely.
there were stories that people told me over the years when I was trying to navigate some of these very tumultuous, challenging situations,
Yes.
um, where their story blessed me.
Yes.
It empowered me. It
Mhm.
allowed me to walk more fearlessly than
Mhm.
I would have without the story,
Yeah.
right? So it's not for me, it's for other people.
Absolutely. 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 Listen, ladies, y'all, I need y'all to like, I need y'all to review, I need y'all to give this a thumbs up. Dorothy Enriquez is dropping gems today. Okay.
Those
You
roll for
better
y'all.
those gems. I think this is very enlightening, and I hope you listen to this again, ladies, because especially if you're in that either or, where you don't feel like you can be in that land of yes and
Right.
don't feel like like you are qualified to start your own business, or have a business and be a mom and be a wife. Yes, it will be hard, but know that you can do it, right?
Yeah,
Like, yes, there will be times where, honey, you're gonna be bent, but you won't break. But you gotta move. You gotta take yourself off the back burner and put yourself on the front burner and get out, serve to the world what God is giving you. That's what this is
absolutely.
all about. That's
Don't
what
be
this is all.
stingy with your gifts, girl.
Yes, honey, serve the world what you have. Okay. I'm pumped. I am just beyond.
Yay.
Okay. Um, so let's get back to, like, let's talk about um how you help women in leadership. Um, there are some listeners, honey, that are um full blown, small businesses. They have employees. They have people that they are leading, things like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do you help them? How do you help, other mompreneurs in the area of leadership and leadership development?
Yeah, for sure. So when you are like a single entity, right? So if your business, you are like the founder and all of the things. Typically, what I do with those mompreneurs is one-on-one coaching,
Okay.
so that we can really help you unlock your leadership in a way that allows you to show up more powerfully. So I have a few different types of coaching programs
Mhm.
available. So I have the Shift, which is my most popular program. And then I also have power hours, just in case if someone's like, yeah, not ready to really step into my leadership like that, but I
Mhm.
would like to begin exploring what is it like for me to start to unlock my leadership
Mhm.
and then lead from this place of connection based leadership. Because all of us
Mm.
communicate,
Yes.
few of us connect though.
Ooh,
And it is through this
good.
connection
Mhm.
element that we can start to merge accountability and inspiration to
Mhm.
achieve results in our business and move our organizations forward. And then my other signature program for individuals is Pursue Your Power. So that's my premier program for individuals. But typically, when it's just one woman trying to step into her leadership, stand up, be counted, and really find her voice as a leader, I
Yes.
offer those different one-on-one programs. But then for businesses that have, employees,
Yeah.
and we're really looking at culture, right?
Mhm.
And how we set up leadership. What do we want this experience to be like? Then I work with those organizations, and then
Mhm.
we can come up with programming that's going to be meaningful and impactful to the culture.
That's good.
So what I mean by that is
Mhm.
sometimes, for example, you may have like a small business that has the founder, a
Mhm.
manager, and like 6 or 7 employees.
Yeah.
They may say something like, they're just not, their customer service skills are terrible. And,
Mhm.
sometimes they're like lazy, or they're late to work, or they just, they're blaming each other.
Mhm.
They're like, it wasn't me, I do it. Susie just didn't do her job, and Lisa didn't tell me I was supposed to. And there's just this lack of accountability.
Yeah.
It might be because they're young. They need customer service training. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and
But yeah, right. Yes, and
customer experience training, yes. However, what I would do is pull it up from a leadership development standpoint and say, we need to pull it up a couple levels higher
yeah.
and do culture work and
Mhm.
say, when we
What is
work
the
in this
culture of the
business,
company? Mhm.
what do we want this business to look like? When we
Yes.
work here, when we show up here, in this family setting, yeah, we're not related, but in
Yeah.
this family organization, these
Mhm.
are our visions and values.
Good.
These are the types of employees that we want to hire. This
Yes.
is how we're going to discover that in the interview. This is how we're going to tee things up, because we have our own language here. We
Mhm.
are a high performance culture, and this
Yes.
is what it looks like to be in this culture. And when you're like, okay, high performance culture, like who? Pixar? They're called the Pixarians. They have their own language, and they are killing it in that space.
Yeah.
Also, Google. They are called the Googlers,
Yep.
killing it in that space.
Yeah,
And
indeed.
you're killing it when you're talking about your work and why you love it. You
Mhm.
know that the company and the culture is killing it when you're
Yeah.
trying to get your family and friends to come and work there.
Yep.
Right?
Disney,
So
same thing too. Disney's just
yeah,
like that too.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we
Mhm.
want
They
to pull it
create
up a
that
little bit
culture.
higher. Yes.
Yes.
And then we want to look at the culture and say, what do we want to do? And then in some
Yeah.
instances, if we don't need to do all that, sometimes we just want to develop our leaders more. And then I
Mhm.
just partner with the organization to come up with a customized leadership development series of workshops, or
Okay.
like lunch and learns, depending on
Okay.
what the budget looks like.
Yeah. Honey, this is excellent. Ladies, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. And I love one, before I just even go into that, I love how you're saying, hey, listen, even if you're a solopreneur,
Mhm.
um, you need this type of training. You need this type
Yes,
of because essentially we believe that you will get there, where you'll have people
absolutely.
under you, but like you said,
Absolutely.
it's about the connection, it's about the authentic connection, and you learn that and you can develop that through this type of training as even as a solopreneur. So so that is awesome. Man, I wish I would have had something like this when I had party sitters, because doing that on your own and trying to develop a culture on your
Girl,
own.
yeah, yeah. And I mean,
You
and
know?
like, here's the thing, right? Because it's like we all kind of start out ordinary. But
Yeah.
here's what I've learned over the last couple decades: remarkable women lead differently.
Mm,
And when you're remarkable, that means that you have this openness about you where you're acknowledging, like, I don't know everything.
mhm.
And that's okay. I
Yeah,
don't have to know everything, because
yeah.
there's other people who, your thing not being your thing, it's their thing,
Yes,
right? And so,
yes.
like, for me, especially when it comes to the businesses that have employees, yes, let's partner together. Let me help you take this leadership development thing off of your hands. Let
Mhm.
me help you so that you don't have to like force your brain to do things that it doesn't want to do. Let
Yeah,
you be the expert. You be the
yes,
small giant. You dominate in your space, and let me help you with this leadership stuff, because
yes.
this is me. This is
That's
my
your
lane.
thing.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
And
Ladies, if
I
you
can
need to
help.
take that hat off, here's the person that you can give it to. That
Exactly.
leadership development hat, that if you're trying to build a culture right now in your business, if you are starting to identify different leaders in your business, go ahead and contact Dorothy so that she can help you develop that. Develop you first. I feel like
That part.
like
Leadership
you are
starts with
developing.
self-awareness.
Yes, like it starts from the top and trickles down, right? Like a
Absolutely.
lot of times, that's like number one of what you see in bad management, when they're going, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. I mean, it starts from the top and trickles down, right? So so if you have bad employees or things aren't going right, look at the leadership first. So what Dorothy is saying is she will help you so that you don't have to try to do that yourself, try to figure out, you know, how do I do this? How do I develop a culture? How do I, like you said, how do I identify leadership qualities or abilities in the interview.
Yes.
That's
Oh my goodness.
huge.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
huge. And how does that match up with the company culture? How does that match up
Yep.
with
How do I
where I'm
onboard these
going?
employees so
Yeah.
that they understand the culture? Because we
Yes.
want them to drink the Kool-Aid, because we want them
Yes.
to embody this business. Think about Zappos. Think about the Jesus chicken. When you go to Chick-fil-A,
Honestly,
how do they treat you
my
versus when you go to
pleasure.
McDonald's? It is my
My
pleasure to serve
pleasure.
you.
That I
Right?
love it. I
Right?
love it. And they
Right.
you're absolutely right. Like they identify with it. You know, they take on responsibility, and that's what you want.
That's culture.
I loved, when my staff was like, "Hey, we are party sitters. Like we do." Like when you get that "we" going, it's like, oh yes.
Mhm.
Like it just
That's
makes your heart glad as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Like
yes.
did they just say
Absolutely.
"we"? Like that just makes
Yes.
you so happy. Um, but doing that on your own,
It's
honey,
tough.
it takes
It's tough.
years of trial and error and guesswork and all that stuff. Dorothy can do it for you.
Right.
I'm just saying, ladies, listen, um, go to DorothyEnriquez.com, and that's Dorothy, DorothyEnriquez.com. Also, you can find Dorothy on Instagram at the Communication Strategist. All right, so make sure head over there. You have they can subscribe to you, right? You have like a newsletter as well.
Yep. So they can subscribe right on the website.
Okay, perfect. So go to DorothyEnriquez.com. Go ahead and subscribe so she can start sending things to you, start sending content to you. Clearly, y'all have discovered that this girl knows what she's talking about. Okay, she's got the receipts. She can help you develop your leadership. All right, Dorothy, this has been amazing. I'm just I'm
Yay.
just on I get like when I get these amazing women to talk to, it gives me so much life. So you have been absolutely wonderful. Ladies, look her up. Oh, also shout out to your podcast, The Business Besties. That
Yep, that's
drops
us.
every Monday. Yes, you guys are on your third season. Congratulations.
Thank
Every
you.
Monday, 4 a.m. So, honey, that what you say, that's like your Monday morning coffee, right?
Yep, there it is. All things business, all things entrepreneurship to
Yes,
move your life and business forward.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay, remember, follow her on Instagram at the Communication Strategist. All this will be in your show notes, ladies. So don't worry about that. Just head to the show notes and click on all that good stuff. All right. Um, this has been another Front Burner podcast. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. Dorothy, thank you for joining me. And I will see you guys soon. All right.